खुशी तुम अपना कहीं पे ये करो, ब्लर्ड हो जा रहे हो बीच बीच में।
अच्छा।
गंगे च यमुने चैव गोदावरी सरस्वती कावेरी नर्मदे सिंधु जलस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु। जल ईश्वर स्वरूप है, सौम्य, शालीन, जीवनदायक। प्रकृति का दिया ये जल रूपी वरदान पृथ्वीवासियों के लिए सिर्फ एक विरासत नहीं, बल्कि एक जिम्मेदारी है, जिसे आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए संभालना आवश्यक है। और इस उद्देश्य की ओर पूरी निष्ठा से कार्य कर रहा है राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन, जल शक्ति मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
आने वाले वर्षों में बढ़ती हुई जनसंख्या के स्वच्छ पेयजल उपलब्ध कराना बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है। पानी का मुद्दा बहुआयामी और जटिल है, जिसके समाधान के लिए सबके प्रयास की जरूरत है।
जलवायु परिवर्तन का विशेष ध्यान रखते हुए नेशनल एक्शन प्लान ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज के तहत नेशनल वाटर मिशन की स्थापना की गई। राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन के प्रमुख उद्देश्य हैं जल का डेटाबेस सार्वजनिक रूप से प्रस्तुत रखना और जल संसाधनों पर जलवायु परिवर्तन के प्रभाव का आकलन करना, जल संरक्षण वृद्धि और संरक्षण के लिए नागरिक और राज्य कार्रवाई को बढ़ावा देना, शोषित क्षेत्रों सहित संवेदनशील क्षेत्रों पर ध्यान देना, 20% तक जल उपयोग कुशलता में वृद्धि करना और बेसिन स्तर के एकीकृत जल संसाधन प्रबंधन को बढ़ावा देना। 2019 में जल शक्ति अभियान की शुरुआत हुई और 2021 में जल शक्ति अभियान कैच द रेन नामक एक खास कैंपेन शुरू किया गया। जल शक्ति अभियान के अंतर्गत लाखों की तादाद में रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर्स बनाए गए, अनेक जल निकायों का पुनर्विकास किया गया, विभिन्न जिलों में जल शक्ति केंद्र स्थापित किए गए, हजारों ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स और किसान मेले लगाए गए, वाटर बॉडीज की जियो टैगिंग और जीएस मैपिंग की गई और जिला स्तर पर साइंटिफिक डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाटर प्लान भी अपनाए गए।
जब किसी अभियान से जनता जुड़ी रहती है तो उसे कार्य की गंभीरता का पता चलता है, उसके सामर्थ्य का पता चलता है, उसके स्केल का पता चलता है, संसाधन कितने लगते हैं उसका पता चलता है। इससे जनता में एक सेंस ऑफ ओनरशिप आती है और जो सेंस ऑफ ओनरशिप जो है ना, वो सफलता की सबसे बड़ी कुंजी होती है।
राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन का मोटो है रिस्पेक्ट वाटर फॉर लाइफ, जिसकी ओर बढ़ते हुए जल प्रयोग क्षमता बढ़ाने के लिए जल शक्ति मंत्रालय द्वारा पूर्णतः समर्पित प्रभाग भी शुरू किया गया है। ब्यूरो ऑफ वाटर यूज एफिशिएंसी जल इतिहास नामक पोर्टल पर ट्रेडिशनल वाटर हेरिटेज स्ट्रक्चर्स की जानकारी सार्वजनिक रूप से प्रस्तुत की गई एवं जन भागीदारी को भी अत्यधिक प्रोत्साहित किया गया है।
कृषि के उपयोग के लिए, पीने के पानी के लिए उपयोग के लिए, उद्योग धंधों के उपयोग के लिए पानी की उपलब्धता निर्बाध रूप से बनी रहे और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जो हम विकसित भारत बनाने का लक्ष्य लेकर चले हैं, उसकी आपूर्ति में जल की उपलब्धता बाधा न बने, स्पीड ब्रेकर न बने, इसके लिए वाटर सेक्टर के कंप्लीट रिजुविनेशन के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जल शक्ति मंत्रालय काम कर रहा है।
मंत्रालय के इतिहास में पहली बार राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन द्वारा भोपाल में प्रथम अखिल भारतीय राज्य मंत्रियों का सम्मेलन आयोजित किया गया और स्वयं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय ने इस द्विदिवसीय सम्मेलन को संबोधित कर इसका उद्घाटन किया।
For a campaign to be really successful, it has to have the commitment of the top political leadership. And what better commitment can be there if the Prime Minister of the country gives this clarion call to the citizens to participate in this program.
जल उपलब्धता सुनिश्चित करने हेतु जल शक्ति अभियान कैच द रेन 2023 का मुख्य प्रसंग है पीने के पानी के सतत स्रोत, जिसका उद्घाटन भारत की राष्ट्रपति महामहिम श्रीमती द्रौपदी मुर्मू द्वारा किया गया। प्रमोशन अवसर पर जल शक्ति से नारी शक्ति इस सिद्धांत को प्रबल किया गया। आइए हम भी जल शक्ति अभियान से जुड़ें और जल आंदोलन को जन आंदोलन बनाकर जल संकल्प को दृढ़ करें, क्योंकि संरक्षित हो जल तभी बेहतर कल।
everyone, and warm welcome to 48th Water Talk, being organized by National Water Mission and is supported by Water Digest. I'm Anupma, the director and editor of Water Digest, and we take pride to be part of this wonderful initiative of Ministry of Jal Shakti. Various topics have already been covered as part of this Water Talk series, which National Water Mission started almost 4-5 years ago. And today's topic is indigenous knowledge and water in urban context. And our esteemed speaker today is Dr. Chandrabhushan Kumar, an IAS, Principal Secretary to Lieutenant Governor, Delhi. Sir has also served as Deputy Election Commissioner, Election Commission of India from 2018 to 2022. Sir has won a lot of awards and 3 national awards on National Voters Day, 2016 for inclusive elections, 2017 for establishing first election museum, and 2018 for launching e-learning platform. Welcome, sir. Quickly talking about sir, his thesis, his PhD has been Technological politics in mega cities, rethinking water governance in Delhi. And that's how we thought it will be great if possibly sir could be here with us and deliver a talk on, talking about the governance and also talking about the indigenous knowledge and water in the urban context. Sir has also authored various publications. He has authored various articles, and especially with regards to the subject water, he has also contributed in bringing back the wisdom tradition in urban water management, indigenous and local water knowledge, values, and practices. So, without further delay, we would be happy listening to the talk today. But prior to that, I request Archana Ma'am, Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission, Ministry of Jal Shakti, to kindly propose, ma'am, your opening address so that the tone for today's water talk is all set. Over to you, Archana Ma'am.
Thank you, Anupma. I think one thing that you did not say was that this is a water talk which is based on some nepotism from my side, viewers, because Chandrabhushan, or Bhushi as we call him, is my very, very adorable batchmate. Now, he is not only a very, very dynamic bureaucrat who is never seen, and but his delivery is awesome. And to add to that, he is one of those rare breed of scholar bureaucrats. Because Anupma has already told everybody about all these awesome books that he has written about not only water, he has written a lot of books on a lot of topics, including forest. So today, as Anupma has already said, he would be discussing on indigenous knowledge and harnessing of indigenous knowledge in water. As you all know, friends, that one of the main goals of the National Water Mission is harnessing indigenous and traditional knowledge on water with a modern tadka. We call it technology meets tradition in the NWM lingo. And none could have been better than Chandrabhushan to talk on this topic, because when I joined, he's the quiet, sober one, and I'm the exact opposite, like we are chalk and cheese. So I didn't even know that he knew much about water. When quietly one day, there was a WhatsApp on my phone, in which he had written an article on indigenous and local knowledge of water, tracing the history of water from the Rig Veds. And he is the one who told me a fun fact that, water is not called water in the Rig Veds. It's always waters. He says that it is apas, or waters, and it is very revered in the Rig Veds, and the god of water is Varun. My knowledge of history, despite being a historian, is a little, not so good as his. despite him not being an historian. As you all know, friends, that almost all the oldest civilizations, beginning from the Egyptian civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization, the Chinese civilization, and the Indian civilization, what has been the common factor? If there has been one common factor in the development of the early civilization, it is river. Mesopotamia had Tigris and Euphrates. Egypt had the famous Nile. China had Yellow River, and India had Indus. So you can imagine that there would have been no civilizations had there been no waters, as Chandrabhushan calls it. And the coffee that I'm drinking has water, which is 9.3 billion years old. So I will not talk further and allow Chandrabhushan to take you through the journey of water, जो कि 9.3 billion years old है, जो हमारे आज कप में है. So over to you, Bhushi. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. First, let me congratulate the team to create this particular platform and sustain it for so long, because exchange of ideas from diverse stakeholders enriches our understanding of this primordial element. And I'm also fortunate to be associated with the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is a very prime, you can say that Abhiyan campaign of the country on this very, very basic element which sustain us. I'm grateful to Archana for giving me this opportunity, and as you have witnessed that her engagement with any of the topics is always very infectious and always very rewarding. And I'm very happy to see or witness this particular progress down the line in the sector of water, at least. Some things have been already told about my background on this particular issue, as Rukma ma'am has also told. 11 years back, I did my doctorate from a particular university in Wales, UK, and I selected the topic of my study, which is called Hydrological Politics in a Megacity and Rethinking Water Governance in Delhi. Since I have worked in Delhi, but not in water sector specifically, but knowing governance or structure of Delhi, I picked up this topic. And then subsequently, I was fortunate to author some book papers, research articles on this particular topic also. I would like to share my PPT, which I made for today's program. And I would request Anupma ji to just remind me if I'm exceeding the time, because that would be very important. So I'm just sharing this particular thing. Okay. Okay. Hope this is visible, Anupma ji. Okay. So what I'm going to talk first, a little bit disclaimer that this is purely based on my academic and research work, and these views are personal, and this presentation is not on behalf of government. And the information which have been used in this presentation are available in public domain. So I have tried to bring together and build a narrative around this particular topic so that I can convey my ideas on this particular very, very important issue. So the broad area, which is called indigenous knowledge and water in cities, this is the title. What do we mean by indigenous knowledge? I think most of the people who are present on this platform, they are more knowledgeable than me in this particular context, at least in water, because they are dealing with this issue on day-to-day basis, whether from the government side or whether from public side or private side, or as a very, very engaged stakeholder. I would like to just list few of the values related to water, which is important, and that will run through the whole presentation time and again. This is a life sustaining. Everybody knows that it's life sustaining, and not today, but since time immemorial, it is known. It's a cleansing thing. Water cleanses us. It has medicinal values. It works like a medicine. Procreation is one of the important aspects of water. It's a destroyer. In fact, if you look at in the historical context, we would come across that water pralay is basically the platform which gave the civilizations everywhere. In fact, most of the religious texts, one would find that. So in our indigenous knowledge, it is always a holistic thinking of water. It is not integrated thinking, but it's a holistic thinking. And it's a multiple. Water is always waters, whether we look at our own texts, or we go to Greeks, where it is always airs, waters. So it's not only in India, but almost all the civilizations had this particular meaning, which is called multiple meaning of water. Cyclic, this is, if we go back to our even ancient texts, then we would come to know that, okay, for 8 months in a year, sun will take it away, and then 4 months it will give back to the earth. So everywhere in our text also, it is talked about conserve water, because it is always known that it's a finite element. So we need to practice conservation in every stage, at every location, in all our, you can say that, approaches to civilization, to planning, to our day-to-day survival element. It's a spiritual, it's a divine element. When we talk about Kshitijal Pavak Gagana Samira, so 5 elements which make this particular body or earth, and water is there. I've just put a particular old sketch related to Delhi, and you could see a lot of blue patches which would be indicating about water, but there are a lot of green patches also which would indicate about water under the earth also. All these images which I have put on this particular slide, these are images of today, and not built in last 100 years or something like that. Almost thousands year old all these locations are, and still surviving with water in different form. If it is a river at one location, another location you have lake, then you have temple tank, and then there you have fort pond. So this is something which we call in academic work also hydrosocial. So it's a kind of concept which has evolved in the century only in academic world. However, we used to follow this in centuries. Regarding Indraprastha, since I am located in Delhi, there is a particular stanja in Mahabharata, which I am going to tell you the English translation. They built a beautiful city like a new heaven. It was made strong by moats that were like oceans, and surrounded by a wall that covered the sky white like clouds or like a mountain of snow. and many ponds filled with pure water, and most charming lakes redolent with the fragrance of lotuses and water lilies, colorful with white geese and ducks by droves, and chakravak birds, and lovely tree-shaded lotus ponds of all shapes, and broad and big tanks of great beauty. So city with water, how it was, and it was designed at that time by Maya. Dholavira, all of us now know in India that in the civilization had one of the, in fact, the ancient, this urban water management system, and which now we see, and then we can understand that how a civilization, or why a civilization survived for so long, because of these basic strategies. There's something Baulis or step wells which we come across in our talks, and we look at locations, particularly in northwestern part of the country. And there, if you would realize that how these were nurtured, these were given a kind of support by not only by the kings, emperors, or by feudal lords, but also by any rich person or community leaders or something like that, because they knew the value of water. In medieval times, there was something, a proverb, which is Darya, Badal, and Basra make a city. So river, cloud, and emperor, they make a city. And so then you come across this particular city, which was made during middle of 17th century, 1639 actually, in that sense. So Shahjahanabad, and you can look at Yamuna flowing just adjacent to the walls of this particular new city. This particular city had excellent water management system, and kind of Ali Mardan Canal, which we also know, which is now some Munak Canal, we call it, and still today it facilitates water to the city. So in 1858, after more than 200 years of building this particular city, a particular gazetteer was written by Thornton. He talks about this particular city in terms of water. He say, in the space between the range of hills and the palace, numerous underground channels were cut, leading to the various residents of the nobles and the different divisions of the city, yielding to the whole city and its suburbs a supply of good water from open well shafts connected with these subterraneous water courses. So this was the situation which was existing even 160, 170 years ago in the city. So when we look back these cities which had water as something like a central locations. So what kind of institutions in this indigenous knowledge we gain from the ancient times? So there are some knowledge which is called formal institution, in the form of formal institutions, like hydraulic structures, which we just saw. And there are how to regulate the use of water. So there are water laws related to use of water, which one can see in even in Manusmriti, in Arthashastra. At all the locations, you will find that how to conserve the water, how not to poison the water. So there, if you do it, what kind of punishments are there? What kind of rewards are there if you develop a particular water pond? So all these things are part of formal structures. Unfortunately, we have seen that with times how some of these things have collapsed or just changed. But what we are going to discuss or talk mostly about the informal institutions. So what is the informal in our indigenous knowledge? It's an everyday behavior. How do we treat water? It is relational. If we look at our culture, then water is not something like a consumable item only. It's a relational thing. So in everyday behavior, if we go back to our house and we look to our mothers, then we realize that, okay, drinking water is separate, cooking water is separate, bathing water is separate. All kinds of waters are segregated. It's a part of everyday behavior. It is not something that somebody will tell me that, okay, you need to segregate the water. So we knew that, and we know that the multiple uses of water, because there are multiple qualities in it, and how we are going to do that. Also, we developed through this informal mechanism coping strategies. This is the summertime, and we would come across newspaper items related to water issues, water situations in cities, mostly in cities. Realize that how people cope up with this particular because supply does not increase, demand increases because of the weather situation, but how people are going to cope up? But they cope up with this particular thing. They have developed resilience in this particular whole urban water management system. So this indigenous knowledge, when we talk about, we have wisdom which is available everywhere in the age of internet. Anybody can do just a little bit search, and then they can find that whether in Rigved, Yajurved, or Upanishad, Brahmans, everywhere you will find something about water. And those basic values which are important or even universal today also. This particular doha, I think anybody who has read Hindi text in school times or something like that knows by heart. Rahiman pani rakhiye, bin pani sab soon. Pani gaye na ubre moti manus choon. So it's a kind of 16th century, this poet who writes about that, okay, you need to conserve water. And then we have the proverbs which are survived in lok, in public, like coast par badle pani, char coast par wani. So people were aware that, okay, after a particular distance, water is going to change. It will change its taste. Like the dialect, how it changes after every 4 course or something like that. Today we are talking, this is 23rd June, and 1757 Battle of Palasi was held today only. It occurred today only. So I'm going to quote a photojournalist, Mona Livingston, who wrote about the water collecting system of the country. So India's use of passive water collecting system, which was born in ancient times and continued unbroken through the Middle Ages, changed under British rule in the 19th century. The British had both a distaste for water buildings as water sources and a love of them as architecture. So this he wrote in 2002 about how the change happened during colonial times. And so what colonial legacy we got in terms of water? Water became a singular element. It is only H2O. So if you travel abroad, then whether you use tap water or bathroom water or anywhere, it's the same quality, same thing. So water is H2O. And the multiple meaning of water was lost gradually because of this particular knowledge which was propagated. It also talked about that traditional, what we were doing here is bad. So it's not only that there is a new knowledge of water, but also what we were doing is bad. So you have the hydraulic structures that were not got protected, and the community ownership and all those things related to development of water bodies and all those things got lost. And also the colonial powers also had the hypocrisy related to water management, because in middle of 19th century world over, there has been a revival of urban water management system, be it in London or New York or everywhere. But when it came to Delhi, and when the sewerage system related to Delhi was being designed, and it was demanded that we should have similar kind of thing. So it's in 1870s. at that time. And then it was said, no, in India, you don't require a sewerage system of that kind. And it can flow in the river because you have very heavy monsoon, large river, it can take away the filth. Unfortunately, this was continued for so long that it affected our whole ecosystem related to our urban survival in the city. Disconnect is one of the major outcomes which has happened because the community engagement, the people's engagement with the water, because of this, because the state assumed everything, ownership. So the transfer of ownership from the society to a state in respect of water, that created this disconnect. So children of today may not be knowing that, okay, how water is reaching to you, whether it is only from the tap or it is coming from Himalayas. So this disconnect is very, very important, you can say, that outcome of this colonial legacy. And from the governance point of view, it gave a situation which is called organized irresponsibility. I'm using the term used by a German sociologist, Beck. And this organized irresponsibility is basically, it's a nobody's baby. So every aspect of water is looked after by somebody else, and they are not converging at particular location. So when you have this kind of legacy, and what happens in this urban world? Because we know that more than 50% of population now live in the cities. This is one particular slide where you can witness that the global water demand, and if you look at the bricks, and then you realize that how it's almost going to double in 2050 if we compare to 2000 situation in terms of water demand. And that's a huge scenario which we are looking at future. This is almost 12, 13-year-old poster on water in cities, and it gives you all those kind of qualitative input and quantitative input related to water and issues related to cities, which is affecting across the world. India has witnessed urbanization, very, very rapid urbanization. At present, we are expecting that by 2026, we would be having 534 million people living in cities. A few years back, this was published kind of metro crisis in the context of India, and it's United Nations particular input, and with the support of also CAC and Central Public Health and Environmental Engineering Organization. And you can witness that, okay, we are having metro crisis related to water management. What we are pursuing today, that is having the situation which is a problematic. And it identifies also 30 cities in the country which are most at risk related to water system. So availability of water is declining in the city, and this is the statement which came in the press release of the government also sometime back, that water availability in the country has declined by almost 20% per capita water availability in last 2 decades, and it's likely to decline by another 20% by 2050, and which will be a problem scenario for future. I'm just giving you a few ideas about this particular water crisis respect of urban settings. So this is a control maps related to Delhi and Mumbai, and you'd see that how the urban built-up area had jumped in both the location if you compare from 1992 to 2011. So if you have more built-up area, then it means the earth is not there to soak up this water which is going to come from the top. So this is the kind of scenario we are having. And this is also affecting the groundwater levels. So like in Delhi, if you look at the change from 1960 to 2021, that how the groundwater extraction has just changed drastically. Few days back, we would have seen a study published in Geophysical Research Letters. It says that the groundwater extraction has led to change in Earth's rotational axis and its contribution to global sea level rise. And there are two major areas which they identify. One is the Western North America, and another they call about Northwest Indian area. It's an alarming situation, and this requires attention of everybody. And I know through this Jal Shakti Abhiyan, we are doing this particular work to enhance the level of groundwater everywhere. We know that the virtual water, what it is, it's not only the agriculture which we are talking about, it's a kind of water footprint of a city. So it's not only for the drinking we require water, but for our consumption, for everything, whether it is related to food, related to clothes, for everything you require water. And I'm not going to tell statistics related to use of virtual water or the urban water footprint of every individual living in the cities. So I am going to touch upon another area, which is something driving our urban water management system for long. And I remember there is a committee which is called PC Bhor Committee, which was, I think, 1942. And at that time, this discussion was there, and they said that, okay, in big urban cities, we should have 60 gallon per capita. That should be the availability of the water. And for what purpose you require water? So 135 liter, which is generally now a CPHEO, given this particular norm in 99, I may be corrected if it has been revised. So your requirement for drinking 3 liters per person, this is something which has continued. If we come back to this flushing toilets, 40 liters per person. Now, this is the area where you have the maximum consumption. Now, are we saying that in last 24 years, there has not been technological advancement in flush system where you consume less water? Because if we continue with this kind of norm, what happens? That the projection is for any urban location that, okay, we require 1200 million gallon daily for the city, and from where you get it, you extract water, you take water, you have the water conflict related to that particular situation. So I think this is one area where we need to look into that norms which is continuing, where you have technological advancement, washing clothes or flushing or bathing. And then you need to understand that why we continue to have this kind of norm for such a long period. Still today, we calculate the water requirement of Delhi with 60 gallon per capita Delhi, which was imagined in 1942. And at that time, the kind of technological advancement related to these machineries, household machinery, were not available. So I've just given some kind of basic progression related to this particular norms from Bohr committee, Jakaria committee, then a lot of other committee in 1999, how it was fixed. Now, when you have this scenario, then how do we manage our water? So outcome budget of Delhi government, where we have Delhi Jal Board, it says that we have distribution losses at about 58%. So it means more than half of your water just goes unaccounted for, something like that. Whereas people say, or the experts say, that it should not be more than 10 to 20% in developing countries or something like that. is a huge gap area which is affecting urban water scenario. I'm going to, since I have a little bit interest in film, so I'm going to talk about cultural part of that, how these things have been captured in that kind of imagination. The first one is Neecha Nagar. This is a 1946 movie, and this was the first movie which won the grand prize related to this Cannes Film Festival. And the movie was related to Mumbai, where a particular water course was to be changed to Nichanagar, something like that. So it was talked in those days also, which was again in 1974, the Hollywood movie, this is Chinatown, which was a very celebrated because it was a Jack Nicholson and the Oscar-winning movie again. There you see that how Los Angeles draws water from upstream and how politics and corruption affects the whole structure. And this is something which is Kathi, if I'm pronouncing correctly. This is a movie, I think 2010. And this is where the protagonist is a hydrologist. It's a very unheard of kind of situation. So this protagonist, he has to protest. So what he does, that he cuts the supply water pipeline supply to the city of Chennai so that the voices are heard. So when big cities draws water from outside in this number, they are prone to major risk. And this is not only the movie. So this is something in 2016 and earlier also, that water supply cut, Delhi may go dry today. Okay. So there's something which is not only in movies or in imagination, but since we have developed a kind of our requirement which is dependent on outside supply, then you are inviting mega risk also in mega cities. So how do we do the course corrections related to this particular situation? There is no, you can say that the one solution for all these things. But definitely history offers solution to us because our knowledge is rooted in culture, in geography of the place. And we need to go back to that, to look back and to pick from those locations. Values are universal. If it has survived, sustained for thousands of years, then it will survive even today. And we have seen that in cases of household water management, most of those values are still being observed and preserved. So make it social, it's a hydrosocial. So it's not only technology, it's a human beings, it's a community. And that's a big thing which is being done is the public partnership, bhagidari, Jan Bhagidari in water management. Because people are connected to this, then you are going to have the success related to that. Because it's everybody's concern. It's not only individuals' concern or the state's concern. So it's a book called Water, a Biography. The relationship between water and society over thousands of years has shown that society's response to the power of water consists of an inseparable blend of technical and institutional measures. Society's agency is reflected mostly in the adaptation of its social contract, not in the engineering it applies to the landscape. The reason the earliest story of water and society matters is that it has left deep cultural traces guiding and inspiring human adaptation ever since. So we have hope and something like that. I hope this small video runs. It's a very short clip, and I'm talking about something from Liquid City, a particular documentary made by a professor of geography, Matthew Gandy. and it is available for free use for educational purposes. So it's a clip on Bombay, which is titled Liquid City. And here people are talking, the people who provides water to the city, and they talk about the values attached to their work.
Ushi, the Avaz video is not audible.
It's a punya ka kaam. So people who are engaged in their day-to-day work related to water supply in the cities, they also know that this is something different from other provisioning in the government. When I was doing research related to Delhi, I had the occasion to survey close to 5,000 plus households, and I posed a very simple question to them. If you have shower in your socket in your this particular bathroom, do you bathe using shower or else? And you would not imagine, it's a 72% who said that no, they prefer bucket bath. There may be some of the regions related to the quantity which they receive in terms of water, but there's a kind of tradition also that the bucket bath is preferred. So I go back to another geographer who is called Patrick Geddes, who's worked mostly in India in his last years. And he wrote close to 40 odd city plans in the country, including Dhaka, Thane, and all those locations. And he said that India has a very rich urban planning, which he named it folk planning at that time. And he talked about the wells. Any and every water system occasionally goes out of order and is open to accidents and injuries of very many kinds. And in these old wells, we inherit an ancient policy of life insurance of a very real kind and one far too valuable to be abandoned. I'm going to again show you a small video which is in the context of Delhi. When we look at the water management system in Delhi, then it's not only Yamuna, but Yamuna is fed by a river called Sahibi, which we know as Najafgarh drain, but it's a river which is called Sahibi River. And at present, the work is going on in the pursuance of directions of National Green Tribunal here. So the video of that particular work, I am going to show that how, if you look at the city holistically and its water management structure, so it's not only one location which has to be addressed, there are other locations, plenty of locations which need to be addressed, which has to have the intervention of the system.
Ushi, is there sound in the video? Because your videos have no
Small
sound.
music. Only music, little bit, not more. No explanation. So what we witnessed is a kind of water available in the second largest city of the world, which is Delhi. And so this is a kind of thing which we need to look at when we look at urban water management system. We have Yamuna in Delhi, which is almost 22-kilometer long in Delhi, and it carries 70% of pollution load. It almost we have 9,700 hectare of land under Yamuna floodplains here. So there is another intervention in this particular aspect. So if you go along the river, you will find a lot of locations which are being developed in the form of green belts. And all these green belts is Delhi Development Authority, which is doing the work related to that. So this is something which is, if you go to the eastern bank side of Yamuna, which is called, this is a big park which is called Asita, East Mary Yamuna, and there you have a lot of functions. Last time we had a G20 function here. A lot of river people connect you would like to witness along the river. Because the people connect, which is a Jan Bhagidari, or people have a stake there, is very important aspect of urban water management. Bird watchers, they have given these photos from their own things, which are available in that kind of thing, which generally people may not realize when you live in a city, and that's the disconnect mostly people have. But if you come out of your houses or spend your mornings and evenings in these locations, then it will be very good for the urban ecology also. This is just 2 days back, and in the background you would see Humayun's Maqbara, Humayun's tomb, this World Heritage Site, and this is something which is named Bansera, which is again it's a between river bed. It's on river bed actually, and it's on the raised platform, earthen platform, and we have International Yoga Day celebration there. It's a huge platform, and there's a kind of thing where you want to engage people with the ecology, river ecology, which is very integral to urban water management. So what is the way forward when we look at all these things or something like that? In our principles or something like premise, we need to consider waters, some many waters. So, and value each source, whether it is a rainwater, whether it is surface water, whether groundwater, and then devise policy. It's not only surface water which is important, because if we create that kind of disconnect with the future generation, then there is going to be neglect, which we have suffered for close to 200 years now. There is a wastewater and there is a storm water. We catch the storm water, rainwater in the storm water, and then we leave it something like that without any use. And this is a kind of wastage of precious resource, something like that. Conservation, it's a part of our cultural trait. Catch the rain. This is the very big campaign which is being done, and urban areas, the big cities, need to get involved on this particular thing. Demand side management always is very important, because the generations, our future generations, they should not feel that water comes in a water bottle and it comes through tap. They need to be connected that, okay, water is something which is essential for our survival, our existence on this earth. So it's a holistic thing. It's a Panchbhutam. We call it one of the 5 elements. Science is important, but arts is more important, because it's a social story of water in a city. It's a kind of aquaculture where we talk about salvation. Every Kumbh, every Magh Mela, every Vaishakhi Mela, you could see the kind of gathering of everybody. So it's a kind of cultural thing which we have seen. It's a relational connect we have with this water, and we need to promote it. We need to do very good advocacy related to do. Portfolio management is another area where urban locations need to look at. It's like we keep our finances not at one location. We we do that kind of risk management with this particular aspect. So water also need to be designed, the whole structure is a kind of portfolio management. Geography is the key. Not every location has the same geography, same amount of rainfall. So we need to work on this particular aspect. And we need to revisit our concept of urban hydraulics, that this is finite element. It's not something that today your population is going to increase by 20%, so you extract 20% more water from Himalayas. No, we are going to cause devastation if we have that kind of attitude. We need to mainstream our cultural practices, day-to-day behavior in our urban water management system to have a better sustainable future for not only for the city, for the country, for the world itself. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation and talking about every small thing one must know as far as water conservation is concerned, even water as a subject is concerned. So thank you so much for this presentation, sir. Sir, as part of the format, we generally also request the participants in case they have any queries. So they generally come forward and ask query. But I also would like to tell the participants and the audience today that sir also has a busy schedule and we've been trying to have sir with us since long, and finally sir could be here with us today. So, but considering sir's busy schedule and ma'am also, I think one of her meeting is scheduled sooner, so we won't be able to continue this Q&A for long, but we'll still take 3 to 4 questions today before we end the this water talk. Right, Arshana, with your permission, shall we open for the Q&A session? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So now, as we all know that you have an option of raising your hand, so you can always raise your hand and my team will unmute you. Also, you can write your query in the chat box, or for any reasons, if you're not able to do that as well, we are live from 8 handles, including National Water Missions, including Water Digest and many more. So you can also post your query on the Facebook pages. Our team is there and we'll definitely take up those queries also who are watching us live. So we are open for the question answer sessions. So there is one question coming up. Do you think that the indigenous knowledge challenges the conventional Western approaches to water management in urban cities? Do you think that the indigenous knowledge challenges the conventional Western approaches to water management in urban cities?
I think we should not look at something in conflict. If we look at the Western knowledge, what we claim to be Western knowledge, nudge theory is a very, very important aspect of their overall water management system also. And what they do in nudge theory, it's a behavior issue, which we have also. It's a cultural, indigenous knowledge also, a lot of related to our day-to-day behavior in the location. As far as the hydraulic structures are concerned, we know that whether we look at our city or whether we look at Rome or Athens, all these ancient civilizations, they had the urban water management system. And these hydraulic structures have survived. How to blend both, that is the challenge which we need to look at, because blending is important, because technological advancement is going to happen. And in those technological advancement, we need to build in those things, and we need to look at our goals in democracy also, that how it needs to be made available to everybody in that kind of quality which we aspire for. So that is the challenge, and for that we require that kind of blending. That is more important. It's not in conflict.
We are open for taking up your queries. Mayur, can we, Mr. Mayur, can we please unmute Mr. Mayur? Mr. Mayur?
Anupa, there's a question from Arzu Sen. So you can read that out for
Yes,
Chandrabhushan.
so there is one question which says there must be some conflicts of opinion or debates between indigenous knowledge and mainstream water management strategies. And if so, how should they be addressed according to you, sir?
In fact, if you look at most of the locations, we live in a particular city environment, then you realize that uh, we go back to our people, to our community, and we stress upon these things, whether it is a hydraulic structure. So there is a huge talk related to revival of lakes, revival of temple ponds and temple tanks and water bodies in Delhi, or rejuvenation of river. And Namami Gange is one of the best examples which we are having in the world today. Not only Ganga, but also there are other rivers which are being taken care of through this particular mechanism. And these are part of our urban water management strategies. And when we talk about indigenous, actually, indigenous means which is situated in that particular location. That is indigenous. So if we talk about Yamuna, if we talk about Haridwar, so whatever is located there, developed there, evolved there, and blend with the modern technology, whatever we are having, and then sustain it. That is the important aspect related to urban water management.
So there's another question which has directly come to me, which says, which is about many indigenous cultures have long-standing relationships with local water bodies and view water as sacred. How can urban cities like Delhi embrace and incorporate these cultural perspective to foster a deeper appreciation for water resources and enhance community engagement?
In my presentation, I at the end I touched upon something that how you can engage with your rivers, how can you engage with Najafgarh drain, which we called Sahibi River. We had at least 8 locations along that particular river. This particular drain, which we called Najafgarh drain, but actually it is Sahibi River. Yoga celebration there, which was unthinkable kind of situation, the kind of BOD we had, or something like that. So, if we as so-called people who are there in the system uh, from the community, and who needs to visit this location, who need to expose the children to these locations. The water bodies are important part of our civilizations in whatever form we are having. Baulis, these are step wells are important. If you live in the northwestern sides of the country, you must get exposed to these things. If you visit any old city like a city called Rajgir or something like that, you must visit Kund, which is something like that, hot springs and or sulfur spring or something like that. Temple tanks which you look at in those locations. So connection is very important, and this engagement with community is happening. In fact, the whole concept of Sampurn, this Jal Shakti Abhiyan is basically engagement, community engagement. And I'm hopeful that the people, the listeners here, and through their own networks, they would be doing, they already would be doing this particular work. So it's a not 1 day, 2 day, or like a Bollywood movie where you can have a result in 3 hours. No, that is not possible. It's a long-term sustainable effort which is needed to have this kind of outcome, which we visualize, which we aspire for.
So, so there is one question which is about the water bodies by Delhi government. So, are there plans to make more water bodies by Delhi government? Sir, would you like to answer this?
I think from very beginning, I made it very clear that I'm not going to speak on behalf of government. This is my personal academic and research work. So I was sharing those ideas and whatever available in public domain. So I would not be able to comment on that particular thing because this is related to a particular authority who can tell you about these things in much detail, whether through a public platform or through government documents and all those things.
Ma'am, I think considering that today we plan to wind out the program sooner, so if you say that we'll end the Q&A now and want your comments before we conclude this program, ma'am.
So thank you, Anupma. Seldom am I impressed by batchmates, but today I think I'm bowled over, Bhushi, by your presentation, and I would literally ask you to take my chair because I think you're the perfect person for this mission and not me. But saying that, best part of his presentation was that highlighting the connect of water with communities and not talking first time. I think that there were so many times we heard this word hydrosocial because we only keep hearing about hydrological when we discuss water. As Bhushi has said, it's become so technical that we only discuss hydrology. We don't discuss the hydrosociology, in which, you know, the politics of water, the inherent social aspects of water are also related. So my biggest takeaway from Bhushi's presentation is that when we talk of water, we should not talk of water, but we should talk of waters, because water gives this concept of just service delivery for us. And it doesn't give us the deep connect that we have with water. But having said that, Bhushi, as a bureaucrat and not as an academician, I would not discount the technology of water because, you know, for a bureaucrat or for a policymaker, it's always a trade-off. If we had not built the temples of India, which has led to a lot of, you know, issues and challenges, I don't think we could have fast-paced the development which we have today. So I guess that I will take the lessons from you with a pinch of salt. But yes, it has to be mainstreamed in our water discourse because we all know how politically sensitive is water. I mean, people can kill for water, and societies can get, you know, another thing which you said, which is so awesome, was that water destroys. So water can destroy also. It can be a creator, destructor. It was almost like, you know, being dancing that Shiv Tandav, because you see creation and destruction happening in the same instance. So Bhushi, thank you so much. I mean, I was really waiting for this presentation, and you have taken time out from your very politically sensitive office and been very politically correct by not saying anything about government policies. But I think I would rate it one of the best water talk that we've had till date. And the proof of the pudding is that by the end of the talk, we have around 60 participants, you know, who are directly watching us. And today we have 110. So hats off to you, Bhushi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, once again for your time. I know that, you know, every time I asked you, you always felt that, yes, I have to give you time for this particular talk. And we are glad that you accepted this request, which, of course, Archana ma'am said that, you know, we must invite Bhushan sir. And so thank you so much. And thank you, ma'am, for giving us this opportunity to be associated with you. with National Water Mission for these Water Talk. I hope the Water Talk series goes on and on for many more years to come. And I also hope that all the participants who had been participating in these talks will continue watching these series for longer period as well. Thank you so much and keep contributing towards water conservation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.